All right, we'll go ahead and get rolling here because I know summertime, always interesting meeting times when we start June, July, and for these types of things. So I will call to order the Central Virginia Regional Housing Partnership full partnership meeting uh, for our Wednesday, June 24th, 2026, 1 p.m. meeting. Um, Logan or Christine, who is reading the electronic meeting notice that we have to read?
I will read it. All right, this meeting of the Central Virginia Regional Housing Partnership is being held pursuant to Code of Virginia subsection C of section 2.2-3708.3, which allows a public body to hold all virtual public meetings. This meeting is being held via electronic video and audio means through Zoom online meetings and is accessible to the public. The method for holding this meeting shall not change unless a new meeting notice is provided. Should the electronic transmission fail, you may reach out to the TJPDC at lindy@tjpdc.org. Notice has been provided to the public through notice at TJPDC offices, the media, and website posting and agenda. The meeting is held pursuant to the remote electronic participation and all virtual meeting policy as adopted by the Commission on August 7th, 2025. The meeting minutes will reflect that the meeting was held by electronic communication means and the type of electronic communication means by which the meeting was held. A recording of the meeting will be posted at www.tjpdc.org within 10 days.
Thank you, Logan. And doing a quick scan, has anybody been able to confirm based on participants if we have a quorum established? One, two, three, four, five, six, seven. Sorry to do this out loud, folks. 8, 9, 10, 11. I have 12 counted, trying to decipher between alternates and appointees.
12 is a quorum. I can also go ahead and read the roll if you would like.
Yeah, let's do that. Just it looks like we have the quorum established. So if you could please.
All right, Ned Galloway,
Present.
Michael Payne or Natalie Osherin,
Present.
uh, John McCluskey or David Masterovich, Rachel Jones, Jesse Rutherford or Ernie Reed,
Here.
Here.
Michael Pruitt. I think he's on.
Sorry, I was here. I had myself minimized while I was looking at the agenda.
No problem.
You're impossible to minimize, Pruitt.
Margaret Claire or Rose Valentino,
I saw
Here,
Margaret.
here.
Oh, there
I'm
we go.
here. Yep, sorry.
Keith Smith,
Present.
Luke Rourke, Emily Dreyfus or Emily Smith,
Emily Dreyfus is here.
Kurt Kiesecker or Taro Matsuno,
Kurt is here.
William Parker, Alice Fletcher,
Alice Fletcher is present.
Peter Holman or George Ballou,
Here, this is Peter Holman.
Dan Rosenzweig or Michelle Wamsley, Shayla Washington or An Huynh,
Shayla is here.
Sunshine Mathan or Alicia Garcia, Alice Raucher or Rachel Hobbs,
Here.
Annette Hyde,
Here.
Kim Highland or Margaret Claire,
Kim Highland.
Dave Norris, Luis Oyola,
Here.
and John Sales or Kathleen Glenn Matthews.
Kathleen is here.
Awesome. That's 16. More than a quorum. Perfect. Thank you, everyone, for your patience as we work through that procedural item. And we will move along in the agenda. The next item, number 2, comments from the public. By raise of your electronic hand, is there anyone who wishes to give public comment today? All right, seeing none, we will close public comment. We will move to the consent agenda. We have the minutes of the March 25, 2026 full partnership meeting in the fiscal year 26 year-to-date financials. Logan, any comments that need to be made on these 2 items?
No, we're obviously approaching the end of the fiscal year, and we have for June, as of the end of May, about $1,000 left on our $49,000 budget. I will say that next year, and we spoke about this at the executive committee meeting, the budget will be closer to 58,000, and that is related to sort of like per capita rates changing for the local contribution. Yes, Natalie has her hand raised.
Sorry, really small detail. But the minutes still note Lloyd as the alternate instead of me.
Oh, okay.
Sorry, I just noticed. Sorry, I could have sent an email earlier, but I just caught it.
No problem. I will change that.
Thanks.
And while we're doing that, are there any other comments, edits about the minutes that are in the packet? All right, if everyone could unmute your microphones, if you're a voting member, we could do this by acclamation. All in favor of approving the consent agenda as amended, please say aye.
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 Any nays? Any objection? Any abstentions? All right, thank you all. The next item, you can see under administration, they have snuck 2 recognitions in on us here. And I would like to move forward with the first. Get my screen set up. We've got some transition happening on the partnership, but also at the Greater Commission level. Keith Smith, who has been integral to the formation of this body and has been a longtime member of the Thomas Jefferson Planning District Commission as a commissioner representing Fluvanna County, and then has either served as chair or vice chair of this body since its inception, will be stepping away at the end of this month officially. Both from the commission and from this partnership, just because, Keith and I discussed this ahead of time. While he might be stepping away officially, he's not stepping away unofficially and will still be available as resource and involved to support the work of the partnership. But with that being said, I would like to offer as a motion a resolution of appreciation for Keith Smith. Whereas Mr. Smith was instrumental in the establishment of the Central Virginia Regional Housing Partnership, a regional advisory body comprised of public, private, nonprofit, and citizen representatives. And whereas Keith Smith faithfully has served the Central Virginia Regional Housing Partnership since 2019 as both chair and vice chair. And whereas Mr. Smith, in his capacity as both chair and vice chair of the CVRHP, has presented to multiple governing boards in the region about housing needs and the work of the partnership. And whereas Mr. Smith also served the partnership at various times as a member of the events committee and helped bring to fruition 4 separate regional housing summits with the partnership, through which he worked committedly to bringing important voices in our region to the table to discuss the urgent issue of housing. And whereas Mr. Smith has been a tireless advocate for the work and mission of the CVRHP during his time on the partnership and in his personal capacity as a citizen representative to the Thomas Jefferson Planning District Commission from Fluvanna County. And whereas Mr. Smith's dedicated service includes supporting the partnership from its infancy, making himself available every month for the agenda setting meetings, executive committee meetings, and meetings of the full partnership. Whereas the work with the CVRHP during Mr. Smith's tenure has resulted in a multitude of programs, plans, and events that include regional dialogues around the importance of improved accessibility to safe, decent housing, the creation of numerous speaker series events, and the continued advocacy of housing and as an imperative priority for our region. Resolved that the Central Virginia Regional Housing Partnership expresses its enduring gratitude and appreciation for the generous service and tremendous work provided to this body and region by Mr. Keith Smith, adopted this 24th day of June, 2022. And I am looking for a second.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. If everybody would please unmute your microphone if you're a voting member. And I will call for the vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Not even going to ask if anybody's opposed. But I would welcome, I think in the interest of time and on agenda for our roundtable, if you would like to make any remarks at that point, I would offer that folks can make them then in reaction to this resolution and in support of Keith. But Mr. Smith, I would love to give you the opportunity at this point to say a few words if you would choose.
Yeah, I'm just flattered, and I think I'll save my comments for the roundtable. But who's going to recognize you? Is that my role next, or should Christine do that?
I honestly was not part of the planning of that decision.
Neither was I. So should I do this recognition of my dear friend Ned Galloway, or
Yes, if you were prepared to do it, Keith, if you'll just let me know if you'd like me to read the resolution on your behalf, I'm happy to do that. But otherwise, I'd go to your leadership for this one.
So clearly, you know my reading skills. So thank you for doing that. Yeah, I mean, Ned, I don't have anything prepared to say, but I will say this much. You were crazy enough to come along with me on this journey, and I grabbed you, and I am so glad that we've had the ability to create this organization together with everybody's help here, particularly staff, right? If it wasn't for staff, we wouldn't be doing this, right? And in the commission, my last commission, I gave shout out to staff, but folks like Logan, Christine, Lori Jean, and there's a couple, all these folks, if they were not doing this work, this would be just Keith and Ned talking a little bit. So it's just the amount of work that they put in, it's great. But Ned, you've been tireless. You've been alongside, side by side. And I'll tell you, I'll miss our road shows, our Batman and Robin, our Bert and Ernie shows, and I'll leave everybody's imagination who's Bert and who's Ernie in the conversations. But I'm gonna miss it, and I might be dragged. Well, he already knows this. I'm dragging him out on a state conversation on it. But Christine, if you don't mind, my reading skills are not there at the moment. If you can tackle that, and then I will call for the vote.
Okay.
But Ned, I appreciate you like a brother. Thank you very much for all you're doing.
Thank you, Keith.
All right, thank you. Resolution of appreciation, Ned Galloway. Whereas Mr. Galloway was instrumental in the establishment of the Central Virginia Regional Housing Partnership, a regional advisory body comprised of public, private, nonprofit, and citizen representatives. And whereas Ned Galloway faithfully has served the CVRHP since 2019 as both chair and vice chair. And whereas Mr. Galloway, in his capacity as both chair and vice chair of the CVRHP, has presented to multiple governing boards in the region about housing needs and the work of the partnership. And whereas Mr. Galloway also served the partnership at various times as a member of the events committee and helped bring to fruition 4 separate regional housing summits with the partnership. And whereas Mr. Galloway has been a tireless advocate for the work and mission of the CVRHP during his time on the partnership and in his professional capacity as a local government representative to the TJPDC from Albemarle County, as well as his service on the Albemarle County Board of Supervisors. And whereas Mr. Galloway's dedicated service includes supporting the partnership from its infancy, making himself available every month on the agenda for agenda setting meetings, executive committee meetings, and meetings of the full partnership, carefully and assuredly stewarding the partnership in his leadership roles and preparing the partnership for times of transition. And whereas the work of the CVRHP during Mr. Galloway's tenure has resulted in a multitude of programs, plans, and events that include regional dialogues around the importance of improved accessibility to safe, decent housing, the creation of numerous speaker series events, and the continued advocacy of housing as an imperative priority for our region. Resolved that the CVRHP expresses its enduring gratitude and appreciation for the generous service and tremendous work provided to this body and region by Ned Galloway, adopted the 24th day of June, 2026.
Thank you, Christine. Can I get a second, please?
Second.
Thank you. So all in favor? So like Ned said, there's not going to be any nays. So all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Ned, congratulations. I'm going to hand
Well,
the
same
meeting
to
back.
you, and thank you, everyone. And I will reserve some remarks for the roundtable as well as to what's next relative to how I'll be supporting the group. But I do appreciate the formal recognition very much. In partnership, we will now move to the next item on the agenda, which is we've been doing presentations to do information sharing. And we appreciate Ms. Bowser's patience as we subjected you to those resolutions. So thank you for that. But we have Diana Bowser with us of the Southside Community Development and Housing Corporation. And this is a body that has been working specifically towards wealth building and home ownership in their particular area. And you can Google Southside Community Development Housing Corporation for more specific details if you'd like to read, but I don't want to steal Ms. Bowser's thunder in my introduction. Logan, is there anything you wanted to say by way of introduction before we hand things over to Ms. Bowser?
Nope, I think you did it well, and I would just ask Diana, if you want to share your own slides, you're welcome to do that. If not, I can share them for you. But up to you.
And you are muted, Diana, just to catch you there.
Logan, you can share.
All right, just let me know when to change the slide.
Okay.
And give me 1 second to pull it up.
All right. Hello, everyone. Again, my name is Diana Bowser. I am the president and CEO of Southside Community Development and Housing Corporation. Also, our director of housing will be helping me with this presentation, Jim Chambers.
Hello, everyone.
Also,
Nice to be here.
Good afternoon, sir.
just want to give you a little history. The organization was created back in 1988. We were born from a church that was in a community, blighted community, and they wanted a way. How do we get rid of this blight and transform it where it could be a community where people could live, work, and play? And our organization was born. And our first project was to build brand new construction in the south side of Richmond. I have been with the organization for 30 years, since 1996, and have probably held every position at the organization. It's been a learning experience for me. We started with the first project of 19 units in a subdivision. At that time was the first subdivision created of new construction in Richmond South Side. and we named it Paradise Place. It was on Porter Street. It used to be a site owned by Caravati's Junkyard, and I do believe in the next slide you can move on. You can see all those cars. That was the site where we created the Paradise Place, building 19 single family homes, three bedrooms with 2.5 bathrooms. The homes were sold for first-time home buyers at or below 80% of the household medium income for the Richmond MSA. And at that time, the homes were selling for around $70,000. So that is a big difference of what homes are being sold today. Our next slide is we moved on to the Blackwell community. That was a very challenging old community with blight, with many seniors living in some of the homes that where they needed help and making exterior and interior repairs. And we did a lot of rehabs, and in the community, we also built new construction. Today, that community is known as the Blackwell community. We built homes in Blackwell and over in the Manchester, all in the Old South District. But now in the Blackwell communities, those homes are selling for around $300,000 and up dollars. And these were homes at the time that we built and rehab were being sold as from 100,000. And in this particular slide, at the time that this was created, up to 188,000, but you can't find a $188,000 home in that community. Next slide. Then our next phase in Southside is that we partner with the Housing Authority, creating over 32 single-family homes, what is known as Hope 6. Some of the homes were rehab, and a lot of the homes, I think 32 of the homes were new construction, anywhere from 3 to 4 bedroom homes. All the Hope 6 homes were sold to families up to 110% of the area median income, and many of our homes remain to be sold for households at or below 80%. With all of our homes, we provide a lot of counseling, helping our clients become mortgage ready. Next slide. Then the next subdivision we created was in the South Side, another challenging area, blighted, a lot of crime. But we created 16 new single-family homes, and this is one of my favorite of subdivision because of the style of the homes. We created homes that had screen-in porches. We listened to the community and all the homes. We actually build new construction, our earthcraft homes, hardy plank siding, and Jim will give you more information about the quality of our homes. But this was a community where all 16 homes, before we started construction, those homes were under contract. Next slide. And this picture is our Matthews at Chestnut Hill, 32 single-family homes. We kind of changed what we were going to do because in this community, it had a lot of large historical homes, but we knew we could not build homes that were that large, 52 and up square feet. So we decided to make it a townhome community. So most of these homes, all the homes are duplexes with 3 and 2 bedroom townhomes, 2.5 bath. Probably one of my most favorite style homes. And a lot of the community people will ride by and thought they were really big single family homes. But this was a great project, and we're proud of that first townhome community. Second slide. This is our last townhome community in the city of Richmond, um, and probably our last single family development because it's so expensive to acquire land and build in the city of Richmond. This consists of 22 single family townhomes. This project is really interesting because of all the challenges we had to go through with it from because it was previously farmland years and years ago. So with farmland comes a lot of
lot of field,
field.
and a lot of trash underground. We even found bodies for an old cemetery when we were trying to cut a road through and stop the project for about a month and a half. We were trying to cut a road and we had to get the state of Virginia involved. Court enforcement people, I think, may have had somebody from Washington down here. And we uncovered, I think, 3 adult coffins and 2 children's coffins. And we had to alter our plan. We couldn't build a road, so we created a fenced-in area where the road was going to initially be, and created a cemetery. And looking back at the old city records that the state of Virginia had, it was a farm. And as some of you may know, that when you have farms, you have the churches and the cemeteries right behind the church or beside the church. And that was the case here in this subdivision.
And the next picture will display the next slide. That's
Yeah.
what was there before we demolished 3 apartment buildings and we turned that site into beautiful townhomes. And all of these townhomes were sold to first-time home buyers at below 80% of the median income. Next slide is pictures of the last 9 townhomes that we have completed. And okay, one of our projects was Emporia. We kind of moved south, down 95 South. We installed our first modular projects, 4 modular. That was a great project. Jim can tell you some information on that project, that development.
Well, the site that the 4 new homes are was initially a trailer court. And the owner and the city of Emporia reached an agreement that the trailers had to go. And Southside was invited to construct single-family homes on the parcel. And as Donna indicated, this is our first experience with modular. We met an excellent contractor not very far from our office here on Hull Street, that his specialty was modular homes. He gave us a great presentation and told us the only thing we had to do was make sure we had money in the bank. And the houses, we picked designs for the houses. I think these houses come in somewhere a little 1,400 square feet and up. They're basically the 2 designs, and we flipped the porches to make them look different. They are energy efficient homes. But the project moved smoothly. once we got good weather, that the trucks, I think these units came out of Pennsylvania, and they came on tractor trailers. Several tractor trailers brought them in one at a time. They had a huge crane on site. We had rain for several days, and the crane got stuck in the mud. But that was overcome, and they were able to set the houses on the foundations and tie them all together. The advantage here for us was that no water got inside the homes during the rainy season because when they were delivered to us, they were all sealed up. When they placed them on the foundation, they remained sealed up. So that was a good project that we know that we didn't have to deal with any weather or anything getting inside and creating mold or moisture problems. Excellent way to build a house. Not cheaper, but the quality is there, and you have less water damage and other element damages when you're doing with the modular.
Next slide. That shows the interior of the modular home.
And you can see one picture over on your left with the crane that's got half of the unit up in the air. And they just sit them side by side and it, put it together, tie it together. And if we didn't tell you it was modular and you didn't know what to look for, you wouldn't know it was a modular home when you went to view it.
Next slide. So this is going to be a big project in Emporium. Originally, the site is being donated to us by the city of Emporia. We were trying to plan for 55 originally multifamily units. However, it was just so too expensive for the incomes. So we had to go back to the drawing board and say, hey, let's do single family for sale homes, which we would lower the number of the units and go after additional resources funding that can make this a vibrant, affordable project. And that's what we're going to do is we've turned it into a single family project where we're going to have duplexes, 3-bedroom duplexes. Next slide. Will be on the site. And we're going to use some of our favorite homes that we actually built in the city of Richmond, Chesterfield County, Henrico. And we're going to use these designs in Emporia because we think it's a good fit for new homes, for families that they can enjoy for years and years and years. Next slide. We also have engaged in multifamily. Back in about 2002, we started a tax credit deal for 100 senior apartments. And today, these apartments look very, very nice. It's been well kept, well managed. And at the time, this development was 8.5 million, 100 units. We 100% Southside own all the apartments. We have another site where we are planning to build about another 130 units, single family homes in this area. Next slide. Also, we are in Petersburg. Back in 2019, we acquired a site of an existing 10-unit apartment building that came with a vacant lot to build another. And we did this just before COVID. However, we did build the new construction. Next slide, as you will see. You can tell the new construction is on the left side. our rehab unit, a 10 unit, our office. We do have an office on the first level where we conduct have our financial opportunity center where services are provided and all sorts of counseling, coaching, education, credit and budget management, digital navigation services are conducted on that first level. The unit to this left is the 712 High Street. That consists of 12 one-bedroom apartments. We received support from Department of Housing Community Development. Locus was the construction lender, Virginia Housing, and also HUD to make this deal affordable. The apartments rent from 900 to 1100, and a certain amount of apartments are rented to under 80, under 60, and at 30% of the median income. So we are proud of the work that we're doing in Petersburg, and it is our hope that we will be able to also create some single-family development opportunities. We are a HUD-approved housing counseling agency. We have successfully provided down payment assistance to home buyers to purchase their homes in the city of Petersburg. Next slide. And we had our ribbon cutting ceremony on 712 High Street about 2 weeks ago to celebrate our success of completing that building. When we first started the project, our planned project, this project was supposed to cost us 1.5 million. And then after COVID, we were hit with the COVID prices, I call it. The project turned into 3.5 million. So, but we had great partners that believed in us, and we successfully completed this building. And it is probably, I think we have leased 5 units, and with other units to lease. Next slide. And as I indicated, we are a HUD-approved housing counseling agency. We offer a host of counseling service, pre-purchase counseling, post-purchase counseling, foreclosure prevention, credit counseling, down payment assistance, rental counseling. Also, we administer the eviction diversion program for the city of Richmond. And next slide. In 2019, with the support of LIS, we launched the Bilingual Financial Center. And that Bilingual Financial Center has been very successful in providing employment and workforce coaching, financial budgeting and credit coaching, the benefits, digital. Many of our homeowners start with our financial opportunity center, and they do what we tell them, and then they graduate to the homeownership center where we get their mortgage ready and to take the next step in owning their home. So we are very proud of the 38-year services that we have provided in the different communities that we have worked in, but we could not have done it without having a good board of directors, along with the many, many partners that have supported us financially. In the type of work that we do, our clientele cannot afford to pay fees and pay for our services. but our funders have been extremely supportive to make sure our services continue on. Jim, do you have anything else to say?
I think you pretty much covered it all, Diana.
Okay.
From a construction standpoint, without the support of the state of Virginia and HUD and other funders, some of our local bankers, we wouldn't have been able to make any of this happen. I do want to let everyone know that every home that we have built since that time, since the first 19 units, have been energy efficient, Earthcraft certified homes, which help lower the heating and cooling costs and operational costs for the new homeowners that purchase our home. And that's a priority for us to make sure that when we put someone in a home, they'll be able to stay in the home even with the rising energy costs that's going on around us. By building an affordable, energy efficient home, it helps the people downstream. So we've been very fortunate into that.
Well,
So,
thank you, Diana and Jim, very much. I would like to, we have a few minutes for some questions here. But I'll open it up by raise of hand if folks would like to ask a question. And before asking the question, I just ask that you introduce yourself and your role or title so that Diana and Jim know a little bit about your context. Any questions here for our presenters? Well, then I'm going to ask, oh, there we go, a couple hands. I was going to ask one. Kurt, I saw yours, then Mr. Pruitt. So go ahead, Kurt.
Okay. Thank you for your presentation. Love seeing your work. My name's Kurt Kiesecker. I'm an architect here in Charlottesville. I'm wondering if you could talk a little bit about the cooperation that you've had over the years with the different local governments or jurisdictions. It seems that some of your land and other opportunities have kind of been close-knit with your local Emporia or Petersburg government officials, and how common that is, or is that a special case? I'm just curious to know how that was formed and has lasted so long.
well, Richmond was kind of difficult because of the historical pressure that was put on us. Petersburg and Emporia, especially Emporia, it's been very easy. And also Petersburg. But Jim can talk a little bit about
Yeah,
Richmond.
Richmond was difficult to build in, but we learned as we built. Uh, the majority of our properties were in historical districts in Richmond, and that put pressure on our architect to come up with a design that fit into the existing character of the community. Vinyl siding was out. Hardy plank it was an infant at the time that we started. And so we were all learning how to use hardy plank and put it up correctly. We couldn't use vinyl windows, which is something that the industry always used. They wanted wood windows. And every wood window would stick after it was painted. And we had constant callbacks from the homeowners complaining that they couldn't raise their windows. And we had to tell them, well, call your city representative. They're the ones that made us put them in. So we went through the windows and we went through the hardy plank and the historical characteristics. At that time, initially, 15, 20 years ago, we had city government that was really uh, they put up what they said when they talked about affordability. They gave us the resources to do it. So even though we had historical problems, we had the city behind us financially to help pay for some of the things that we had to do. And those items in the historic districts raised the cost of the home. So that was our initial, and it still exists as far as the historic districts, but the local government has changed as far as funding goes. So that has evolved. Uh, when we move down south, they're learning how to build. So we're down there teaching them how to build and what to build. still keeping the affordability in the prospect of the construction. Now, one of the things that I do when I talk to people, when they talk about affordable housing, I tell them immediately there's no such thing. There's no such thing as an affordable house. It's things that people have been saying for years. We're going to build affordable houses for our community. I haven't met a contractor or architect yet that can build or design an affordable house. The house becomes affordable for the end user with the down payment assistance that organizations such as Southsides provide. So without the down payment assistance, you wouldn't be selling these houses because to build a house for a nonprofit organization will cost as much, if not more, as it costs to build for a private developer. And that's anywhere you go.
Right, Supervisor Pruitt, then we'll go to Luis for the final question.
Thank you. Mike Pruitt. I'm an Albemarle County member of the Board of Supervisors. You kind of touched on it a bit there, Mr. Chambers, but other than the Hope 6 neighborhood that y'all worked out, I was curious what types of funding and subsidy streams y'all are typically able to avail yourselves of, and kind of if there's any lessons you on the nonprofit developer side could be imparting to the government side on which of those tools that you have access to for funding are more effective. I'd love to hear from you.
I can speak on that. We used a lot of CDBG and home money provided by the city of Richmond and also the state. We're beginning now to use a lot of their home and trust money into our development projects. Of course, private foundations from banks uh, helped with the development. We had a very large Fannie Mae grant that supported us in Emporia. Without that resource, we could not have gone into Emporia because we did not receive, Emporia does not have any CDBG or home money to contribute to our developments. Also in Petersburg, our construction financing, Locust. The Locust have been our construction financing, our development since the mortgage crisis. We had two banks we always used at the time of the mortgage crisis. That was Truist and well, they were called SunTrust at the time, and BB&T. And when the mortgage crisis came, they said, "Oops, we're gonna have to shut your line of credit down. We're not doing that anymore." And Locust was Virginia Community Capital at the time. We found them and fell in love. They have funded pretty much every single family development project we have had since the mortgage crisis. Now, LISC, also Local Initiative Support Corporation, have provided support in some of our construction projects, but we rely on the state home money, CDBG, and home money from if the locality get it to reduce our cost in construction. With our multifamily, we seek financing from Virginia Housing.
Thank you very much. Luis, final question.
Thank you all. My name is Luis Oyola. I am the director of the Piedmont Community Land Trust for the Charlottesville region. I think I heard you mention that Richmond, the land is getting really expensive, and so that's kind of that's a big part of what's pushing it out to like Petersburg and Emporia. That's for organizations like us. That's certainly been the pattern. Charlottesville is very expensive, but even though it is where it's most needed, and that's making us look at developments in rural counties. It's just as needed in rural counties, and we're going to develop there too.
Yes. Yeah.
but we should be able to develop in the city also. And so I wanted to hear more
Yes.
about those challenges with acquisition costs and water dissolutions being explored. I know there's a land bank, but I've heard from Maggie Walker that land bank stuff has been slowing down a lot. So I don't know if there's other conversations happening.
Well, one thing in Richmond, we just can't um, compete with the for-profit developer. We can't take a lot. There's a lot in our community where our office is at in Richmond that years ago that vacant lot was 50,000. Now they're trying to sell it for 300,000. And what we find that for-profit developers are doing, they're buying a lot that may have a single family home, and then they're demolishing that home and rebuilding maybe a four townhomes on that same lot that has single family. They have deep pockets, they have the money that they can go pay those type of prices to acquire land. Um, at one time, the city was deeding vacant lots, tax delinquent lots, to nonprofits. Now they're auctioning off for large amount of money. So we feel good about our decision to go into rural communities because there is a need for development in rural communities. The city have grown just so big. I don't know what the solution is going to be in the city where the average home now is running about 350,000. The target population we serve cannot afford a $350,000 home without some type of help or assistance. So I don't know how we can compete against the for-profit developer in the city, Henrico County, Chesterfield. And so right now we can only offer services to the clients and strengthen their buying powers and their needs. And Jim, what is your feelings on
My
that?
feeling is, years ago we had a good partner with the housing authority. The housing authority has been sitting on vacant land for 20 years plus. They've gone through chairmans, they've gone through new boards of directors. Uh, we invested about $10,000 to $15,000 on some land behind our business here in Blackwell, and we got architectural renderings and surveys and everything. And then the authority decided, well, we're not going to build right now, and they didn't offer us any payback on the investment that we had already done. So the housing authority really acts as the real estate owner for the city of Richmond. And they have the vacant land, they just won't release it. So we need some changes in DC. I called it the 95 Expressway. There's some things happen in DC that's going to trickle down to you guys and other nonprofit developers. It's going to be tough building houses for the folks that we want to serve. Local government and state governments, they have to do their part. But the government locally and state, they're relying on the money from Washington as well. So it's a trickle down thing. If it doesn't come out of D.C., it's going to be difficult to build affordable housing that our clientele can purchase. You can build a house, but building a house that people that need them can't afford them, it's no good. Doesn't work.
Well, I appreciate the questions and having your time to answer those questions. So, Ms. Bowser, Mr. Chambers, thank you so much for
Thank you.
sharing the
Thank you.
information and presenting to our partnership today. I'll say to the full partnership that, like I said, if you Google their organization, Both Diana and Jim's emails are present on their very prominently on their website. So if you have any other follow-up questions, I suspect that both Ms. Bowser and Mr. Chambers would be receptive to receiving emails and answering any additional questions that may come up about their program. But on behalf of the full partnership, thank you again, Ms. Bowser and Mr. Chambers, for your time today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we're gonna our second more local presentation. We asked Shayla if she would mind giving an update on some stuff going on at the Blue Ridge Area Coalition for the Homeless, and specific probably some other topics related to issues that are going on. So Shayla, we'll leave it here turn over to you to make that presentation. I will say to the partnership that obviously some of the topics that we'll probably to talk here have been garnering a lot of discussion in many different forums and places around both the city, the county, and the region. So for question and answer today, we may defer to those other venues just so we don't turn this agenda into the discussion, but give Shayla a chance to be able to present information on behalf of her organization. So Shayla?
Thanks, Ned. Appreciate the time. Thank you, everyone. I'm going to share my screen, so bear with me for just a minute. All right, so thank you, Ned, for that intro. My name is Shayla Washington. I'm the Executive Director of the Blue Ridge Area Coalition for the Homeless, or BRAC. So first, I'm just going to give like a high-level overview of who we are, what we do. This is our mission statement. We aim to make homelessness rare, brief, and non-recurring. We collaborate with communities to help individuals and families achieve housing stability, financial health, and improved quality of life. And essentially what that boils down to is we're just trying to ensure people who are experiencing homelessness or who are at risk of experiencing homelessness have a proper safety net. So we are the Continuum of Care Lead Agency, or COC Lead Agency. This is a HUD designated system. What I say is that we are providing backbone services to the agencies that do that direct service work, like the Haven, Pacham, McKinney-Vento programs within the public school system. We're managing a lot of regional planning, and on our next slide, I'll show you the region that we cover. We oversee data collection and performance improvement. We are the primary organization really applying for HUD level funding for homeless services. BRAC is one of 16 COCs in the state of Virginia, all but two, which are the city of Alexandria and the city of Virginia Beach, are regional or multi-jurisdictional. So here on the left, you'll see this map of all the regions that we cover. We cover the city of Charlottesville, plus Albemarle, Fluvanna, Greene, Louisa, and Nelson. And just to give you a brief history of how our continuum of care came to be, in 2004, someone who was unsheltered passed away under a bridge in the city of Charlottesville. And so a lot of local churches and concerned citizens got together and created Pacham, which is now a bunch of congregations and ministries that get together and provide shelter on a biweekly rotating basis around Charlottesville and Albemarle County. So BRAC in particular was created in 2009 to help facilitate the lead agency role. And so that's when we became a nonprofit 501c3. We've received approximately $500,000. It's now increased to a little over $600,000 in renewable HUD funds that are targeted towards homeless services every year from HUD. We've received about $1.7 million in state and local funds. This is a really helpful snapshot to identify like what we're really targeting in terms of the services we provide. So everything in the yellow orange bar is people who are at risk of homelessness. And these are different categories that we would consider for homelessness prevention. People who are living with others, doubled up or couch surfing, people who are paying to stay in hotels on their own. They're considered a legal tenant if they've been there for 90 days or more. If you're living with others but have been told to leave, maybe because that person is on Section 8 housing or has a voucher and they have a very limited window of time where they can have a guest. If you're paying more than you can comfortably afford, you're behind on rent, facing eviction, or a large increase in your rent that you can't afford. Everything in green at the bottom is what we consider people who are literally homeless. So they're eligible for a program called rapid rehousing. These are people who are staying in emergency or transitional shelters. And by definition, transitional housing is considered 2 years or less. People who are fleeing domestic violence and staying in a shelter for that particular population. If you're living in a hotel or motel that's paid for by a third party, that's considered literally homeless. People who are living in the streets or in cars or other places not meant for human habitation. So an example is like dilapidated trailers, places with no running water or electricity. We've had people living in storage units, again, with no running water or electricity. And so all of that's considered literally homeless. We also have a focus on youth who are aged 18 to 24 who've aged out of foster care, because typically that is a very vulnerable population who tends to fall into homelessness a little bit more than other youth of that age group. So just to give you kind of a snapshot of our system capacity, on any given day, there's only 54 year-round emergency shelter beds at the Salvation Army. For the full year last year, 346 people were unique individuals were served by the Salvation Army. When Pacham was open, which is our seasonal congregate shelter, 245 people were served between November 2025 and April 2026. So I'm going to touch on two different hot button topics. One is 2000 Holiday Drive. For those of you not familiar with that project, in October, the city of Charlottesville purchased this 3.2 acre property at 2000 Holiday Drive in the city for $6.2 million. It's a 27,000 square foot building constructed in 1964. And despite the year that it was built, it's actually in really solid condition. It's just not meant to be a homeless shelter. So there's a lot of improvements that need to be made to get it up to code, to make it fit for people to stay in overnight. We've been working with Mitchell Matthews architects and planners to create 3 different design options that were presented to city manager and city council between November of last year and March of this year. All 3 designs ranged between $9 to $10 million. So we're working on a second opinion now with a new architecture firm. Unfortunately, when I saw the plans, it was a lot of bunk beds, and we don't want to make this place feel like jail. So we're having to go back to the drawing board with that particular firm to get a new design, but it sounds like it's going to come in a little bit lower than that. So curious to see where that stands. We're also working with the Charlottesville Area Community Foundation to draft an operational plan and a budget for Holiday Drive. So that'll be coming soon as well. And I've offered to the city to release a request for proposals to the community about overnight shelter, day shelter services, and any other services we'd like to see under that roof. So the city manager is deciding if he wants the city to release that RFP or if BRAC can just go ahead and do it. The Free Bridge encampment is another hot button topic or issue in Charlottesville. As of June 8th, it was reported to me that 118 individuals are unhoused at Free Bridge or the Dent or the Zero East High Street encampments, which are all connected along the Ravenna Trail. The issue is that that encampment is in a floodplain. And so if we get a heavy rain, it could, make someone float away in the river if it's unexpected or coming at a really high pace. Their things can wash away. There is an RFP out that I have released for agencies who are interested in applying for our funds for the new fiscal year to staff 2 homeless outreach workers. So that'll be coming soon. There's an option for us to also apply for additional HUD funds with this new notice of funding opportunity that HUD just released, but it's currently under litigation again from the National Alliance to End Homelessness. So we're not sure how that's going to pan out. The National Alliance to End Homelessness did win the last lawsuit that they filed against HUD, but this can take some time and potentially just like stretch out this process. And who knows what's going to happen from that. But we're proceeding as normal with this particular notice of funding opportunity and assuming that we have to kind of write our proposal in a way that HUD would like with the current guidelines. We're also planning to do a survey of everyone who's at the encampments over about a 2-week period in July to help inform the city about how to respond to this encampment. So that will also be coming soon. So here's a snapshot of some of the things I'm working on, just trying to navigate shifting federal priorities while trying to maintain the current funding levels we have. We don't want to lose any of the HUD funding that we've received, but they have really changed what their focus is for priorities. It used to be permanent supportive housing. Now it's transitional housing that has a 2-year cutoff, very focused on workforce development, making sure people are utilizing services before they can actually get access to the help they need. which is very different than how our COC has operated in the past. So we're also continuing to do work for 2000 Holiday Drive, supporting the Salvation Army's new Center of Hope, which is a program-based shelter. We're doing our first ever summer point in time count in July. So the sign up should be going out this week. If any of you are interested in helping out, that would be really great. It's the only volunteer opportunity that BRAC really has. We're also really big on providing consistent educational and training opportunities for COC staff. One thing that I've really noticed is that we're very big on hiring people with lived experience to do the roles within our continuum of care, but we don't equip them with the skills and education they need to help provide like supports for people who are in traumatic situations. So that's something that I've really been consistent about, is bringing new training opportunities here. Always focusing on interagency collaboration, strong communication within the COC. Just got funding for some client feedback kiosks, which is really exciting. We're going to bring those to the Salvation Army, the Haven, and Pacham so we can get anonymous real-time feedback from clients about the services they're receiving. And always, always, always centering and including the people with lived experience in the work that we do. This QR code, if you want to take a snapshot, will direct you to the training opportunities that I was talking about. We have an event this Friday called Coffee with the Continuum. It's our quarterly COC membership meeting. It's open to the public, but that's where you can learn more about what BRAC is doing, hear more agency updates from other partners in the COC, and just kind of network and hear about how we're collaborating and working on some of these big hot button topics.
Well, thank you, Shayla, for the brief update and overview of the information. And I would just defer, like I said, I know this is an important discussion and one that's going to be ongoing for, I suspect, everyone, regardless of your seat. But if you have specific questions about BRAC or questions, we ask that you reach out to Shayla. And if we need to, perhaps in a future meeting, if there wants to be some back and forth or dialogue, we could perhaps schedule for that for a future time. So again, Shayla, thank you for the presentation.
Thanks, everyone.
All right, we're going to keep moving here. We have a quick procedural item we need to do. So I'm going to call to order the executive committee. We did this with intention to do in front of the full partnership. So that the executive committee is now into order. And if my count is correct, we have all members and or alternates in attendance from the executive committee. For the full partnerships, why we're doing this and why we'll do it here today. The executive committee serves as your body that does the primary work and meets on a regular basis outside of this partnership. And the leadership changeover happens on the fiscal year. In the bylaws, as was mentioned earlier, either Keith or myself has been the chair. Well, one of us has been chair, one of us has been vice chair since the inception. And we got the bylaws in place where the chair terms out after a certain amount of time for good reason, which has been discussed at the executive committee level, hence the reason for putting it in there. So that's part of the reason why I'm stepping away, is that I am termed out as the chair, and that gave me the opportunity to pull back from the Albemarle County appointment to allow some new blood, as I know Greg Powell used to say and did for us as example, to get some new folks from Albemarle's Board of Supervisors involved. So Mr. Pruitt was actually appointed by CARTA to be on the committee, and then Sally Duncan is officially taking the appointed role from the Board of Supervisors onto the partnership. That all being said, it is the executive committee serves as your nominating committee to suggest who their officers should be for the coming cycle. And it's been discussed in a couple different meetings, and I'm pleased to say that the committee, which we will take action on today, has recommended that Kim Highland be the new chair of the Regional Housing Partnership and the Executive Committee, and that Shayla Washington be nominated as the vice chair for the Executive Committee and the partnership, and they will commence their terms if the vote is approved on July 1. So what I would need from an Executive Committee member is a motion approving Kim Highland as chair and Shayla Washington as vice chair, so we can approve the slate.
Mr. Chairman, I will make that motion for you, sir.
Thank you, Keith. Is there a second from an executive committee member?
I will second.
I heard the second. I think both Alice's got in on that, unless I missed who the other voice was. All right, the motion has been made and seconded. If all executive committee members will please unmute your microphone. And then all in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Is there any opposed? Any abstentions? Well, very good, and congratulations to Kim and Shayla, and my appreciation to both of you for stepping up to be the new leadership for the Regional Housing Partnership. Any words there, Kim or Shayla, quickly? Comments?
I'm thrilled to be doing this with Shayla. I was very apprehensive to be filling such big shoes. You guys have done such a great job of leading this organization and setting the foundation. I always thought the idea of all working together with all of these different types of organizations is the only way we're going to make a dent in homelessness and housing. So kudos to you guys for setting it up and doing all the legwork. And I hope that that I can do half as well as you guys have done. And thanks,
I
Shayla,
fully
for
expect that
stepping
you're
up.
going to do 150% better than what we've done. I think I could speak for Keith on that behalf. And so everyone knows, we have in our bylaws already something called an advisory committee, which you may have heard us talk about before. It's already up and functional, but we've never really utilized it. Keith and I are going to be informally moving to that as immediate past chairs / vice chairs and remain a resource and to both Kim and Shayla. We're not voting members. We're not, we won't necessarily be in the executive committee meetings or the partnership meetings, other than as members of the public. But that's where we will park for especially the next 6 months, to just help as needed if called on. So we're hoping that that'll be the norm moving forward, so that, when future leadership transitions, they'll move into that same type of capacity. But thank you both again for setting that up. The partnership will have to fill my spot on the executive. Well, I shouldn't say my spot. That was very presumptuous of me, or something. There's some word out there that captures that. But the executive committee has been set up to have an elected on there. The executive committee did have a conversation about it at our past committee meeting, and felt to continue with an Albemarle elected on the executive committee was something that folks were in favor of. And I, for one, would be, I made a case to the executive committee that Supervisor Pruitt be that person who could join the executive committee, not just because he fills the need or the bucket of elected, but he also brings a wealth of housing information, advocacy, and energy that I think would fit very well on the mix of what's on the executive committee. So I guess, Logan, I'm not remembering the exact procedure. Is that something they do in the July meeting, or do we need to handle that today?
That can be handled at the July meeting.
The executive committee meeting?
Yep, at the executive committee.
But in full transparency for the full partnership, I just wanted to make sure I communicated the discussion the executive committee had and had that plan, and then I'll leave it to the new chair, vice chair to handle the procedural elements. It also gives people some time to think on it if there's any competing viewpoints to that perspective. You can reach out to Kim and or Shayla.
Can we make
Or
sure
staff.
that Mr. Pruitt knows he is invited to the next meeting, and we would love for him to attend?
He takes it as known. Thank you.
Very good. All right. Well, thank you all for allowing us to get that handled. And again, thrilled with the new leadership that's coming on board. And I know we'll hit the ground running and continue the work. The next item, number 6, under old business, we have a housing study and summit update. More housing study, probably. And Lori Jean is going to provide that update to the partnership. Lori Jean, good afternoon.
Thank you, Ned. Yeah, it's actually going to be mostly about the summit. So we are early to the game here.
Oh, switcheroo.
Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna try to share this. So yeah, I thank you everyone who has met with me. I've met with about half of the membership of the RHP, and you guys have shared some really great insights about where we want the summit to go in this coming year. Our plan right now, we're looking at probably early April as the date, partly because last time when we were in March, we found that a number of people who both wanted to attend or even potential speakers could not because of the LIHTC application deadlines. So we're trying to be after those. So no one's kind of trying to do both. So we're looking at April of 2027. And like I said, I've met with about half of everybody, and I just wanted to share kind of a summary of what has been shared with me. Partly just to kind of update everyone. And also, if I haven't gotten to talk to you yet, think about what you would want to add to this. Just to sort of think about where we're heading. This is kind of the broad overview. So one of the big things that has come up with a number of folks is thinking about how we can be engaging private donors, both thinking about private foundations as well as just individuals who want to contribute to various efforts that we are doing in housing, both as audience members and finding other ways to engage them and use the summit as an opportunity to connect there. So that will also include highlighting some of the opportunities that they have. So it might be some of you, some of the places in our region where they can be investing. Also, a lot of people have talked about thinking about lots of ways that cross-sector partnerships happen, which is, of course, here we are at the RHP. That's exactly what we're doing. So thinking about highlighting what has been going well, highlighting the types of partnerships we want to further in our region, and making the conversations circle around that and not just have each group kind of separately. There's been a lot of talk about regionalism and rural housing needs and making sure to highlight things like how homelessness looks in the rural areas or permanent supportive housing as something that is truly needed across our region. We will also have just completed the regional housing study. It will be coming out and published in perfect timing. I'm sure we will have Mel and Jonathan, who have worked very closely on that, as presenters as well. Growth and infrastructure came up a lot. Of course, this is something that's talked about in a lot of our region about how do we handle the capacity as we are growing and how do we do it in a meaningful, thoughtful way. Really wanting to highlight how much we need to preserve the affordable units that exist because there's no way we are going to build enough to keep up with the failure of units that are falling into disrepair. So it's often a topic that's easy to kind of overlook, but we want to really put that in front of people. Of course, we definitely want to include development of housing. And so you can see here, there's a lot of different ways that we can talk about that. I think a lot of people seem to be wanting, in some ways, kind of the nitty gritty and how can we be supporting it as a region and through our policy and through our incentives. So that's a big topic that's come up. And then also thinking about eviction prevention and kind of the range of factors that impact folks who are falling behind on their rent and how can we look at what is the possibility with rental assistance? What are the possibilities in expanding economic mobility in our region? So those are some of the things that have come up. And I will just say we are going to be forming a summit steering committee. We had a great one last time we had a summit. And so we're looking for that now again. We would welcome some of the same people. We welcome new people as well. Basically, the commitment is just meeting once per month. Our meetings in the past were an hour. Just from now through, so it'll probably be July will be the first meeting through April of 2027. So it's limited time frame. And the idea is basically me and the staff will bring before the committee members, here's what we've been working on, here's what we're thinking about. And it's a chance for the committee members to really shape things and help contribute to the ideas and the resources that are going into it. So if you are interested, you can privately message me in the chat here today. You can email me at the email address below, and I might be reaching out as well. So any questions or thoughts?
Any questions?
Can you send this PowerPoint out? It's kind of nice to jog your memory. It looks great.
For sure.
And Keith, I saw your hand go up.
Yeah, I just want to make a plug for being part of the steering committee. First of all, to spend time with Laura Jean is just awesome. Outside of that, if you really, it is a great opportunity. This is our or the organization's showcase event, and to help formulate that and put it together, and you'll learn a little bit more about the inner workings. So I would encourage folks who are thinking about it to think about it seriously. And if they want any information about the time commitment, I'll be more than happy to share that privately. But um, this is an opportunity to make a difference.
Thanks,
Thanks.
Keith. Yeah, we need someone to take on the charge from you as you head out.
So in
let's go
other
ahead and
words,
form.
what Laura Jean is saying, she needs somebody to ask people for money. That's what she's asking. That's what she's saying.
And if we could formalize, Lori Jean, if you send out the PowerPoint, go ahead and send out the formal request for those volunteers to the whole partnership. So that way folks can just reply um, right then and there while it's right on present in everybody's mind, please. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we're going to move to another series of quick updates. We have some administration and staff updates, including our Vista update. Emily, provide update for the work you've been doing, aside from trying to get the chair on your calendar and not agreeing to get that set up, but I will get that set up. Go ahead.
All right. Hi, everybody. I have kind of one big relevant update. We're continuing our Lunch and Learn series. Our next one, we will send out more kind of context and information within the next couple of days, maybe next week. But we're going to have Jared Elwell from the Federal Reserve Bank of Richmond come to speak about housing and how it can be part of economic development strategies. So I'm going to drop the registration link in the chat here. Again, it will be going out to our mailing list soon, but if you're willing to register blindly, yeah, keep it quick.
Awesome. Thank you. And Logan, you've got two updates, the bylaws revision draft and the future partnership meeting dates and times.
Yeah, so I'll start with the bylaws revision draft. This is a project I've been kind of working on since, for the last month or so. Not quite done with it, but basically, I want to introduce y'all to this before the September meeting. Essentially, what I'm doing is going through and sort of wholesale clarifying a lot of language in the bylaws. So that there's lots of little edits going on. This is not with a mind to drastically alter how the organization works. Mostly it's for my benefit, so I can figure out, in some of the more cryptic moments, what how the partnership operates. That will go in front of the executive committee next month, and as well as a memo detailing the changes. I'm still trying to figure out the best way to present this. I'm thinking a memo detailing the changes is probably the most palatable way. And then will have to be sent out to you all for, the sort of review period before the fall, the September full partnership meeting. So that's just a heads up that that's coming down the pipeline. And in anticipation of that meeting, you will receive that draft, and please, to the best of your ability, take a look at it, so that when it comes time to vote on sort of this wholesale bylaws change, we can have that ready. Speaking of future dates, so it's in your agenda packet. I could share my screen here as well, but why don't I do that real quick? This is just the sort of preliminary calendar of events for the next year. So that is just a heads up. You will be getting holds on your calendars for the appropriate events, for the full partnership and/or executive committee meetings. They are largely on the same Wednesdays in which these meetings in the past year have been. So they usually only differ by a number in the month date. So Yeah, so expect a bunch of sort of calendar holds here as well. But those are my substantive updates. If anyone has
Awesome.
any questions, let me know.
Thank you, Logan. And you can reach out by email as well. Very good. So we're going to move, and we have gathered some time, so we won't need to rush through the roundtable, which is often one of the more substantive parts, if not equal to some of the other ones, because we're sharing information from each of our perspectives or our perspective seats. I take a little bit of a chair prerogative here. I'll hold my remarks to the end, but accepting the following. I'd like to give Mr. Smith an opportunity to speak first, just to say any final remarks. He and others have been very generous about my part in getting this body stood up, but I was asked to join an effort that was already underway, and I was asked that by Mr. Smith. So I often credit Mr. Smith with having the seed idea for what this partnership has turned into. And I'm not going to say any parting words as if Keith and I are moving on or not doing stuff, because we have plenty of things that we work on outside of this partnership, and I know I'll be seeing him on a regular basis and discussing it and look forward to that work. But it's always interesting to me, especially as we serve on the commission together, to have a citizen rep who has put in 12 consistent years working on both the work of the commission, which is the overarching organization that this body serves under, but then the specific housing issue and all of the things I know that Keith does outside of this body to forward the effort. Some of us are paid, and we're put on these groups and these type of things as part of our responsibility to our job. Some of us are elected, and we serve on these things because we've been elected to do so, and our boards or councils have appointed us to this. But for those of you like Keith who are citizens who've put in this type of consistent, ongoing effort to make things better, and in specific to this partnership, make things more affordable, that level of care and commitment, I think, deserves the acknowledgement and the recognition that we provided today. So, Keith, on behalf of the executive committee, I do thank you for your time and effort in getting this partnership stood up, and for everything you do to try to advance the topic of affordable housing, not just here locally, but at the state and national level as well. So thank you, sir. And that would be my turnover to see what you would like to share relative to the roundtable.
Well, that's a tough act to follow. I don't know what I could possibly say after that, other than I'm honored, and and it's focused towards me, and I surely appreciate that. But I'm looking at dozens plus faces here that put a tremendous amount of work and effort into making this happen and get there. And I will apologize to everybody right now, because if I kind of can be a little all that. So if over the years, if I was a little bit all that in the last 15 years, it all came from a good place and heart. But I just it's this is an emotional thing for me to come off. I told this at the planning district commission. This is a big thing for me personally to go and do it. But looking at Kim and Shayla and everybody on here, I know this organization is going to move forward. The four pillars are going to move forward. And as Ned said, you're probably still going to see our faces around. I know I'm dragging Ned around, as I said earlier, to a couple of state level uh, Bert and Ernie shows, and he may have a few national ones coming up he's not aware of yet, to come out that way. So, but well, it's just been an absolute privilege to do it. I would be remiss not to say this, but if it wasn't for my better 7/8, which is my wife, Fiona Smith, allowing me the time to do this, I wouldn't have. We're most know or don't know, maybe. Not only have we been married for 40 years, we've worked together in business together for 40 years. So for those of you who know her and see her, go, oh my God, I'm so sorry. But, so for her to allow me to take this time was a lot. So the kudos really needs to go to her. I just show up and do this. So thank you, Ned. Thank you, everybody. I appreciate the kind words, and somebody get me off of this stage. So.
You can unmute that mic. Thank you, Keith. For the rest of the roundtable, I would obviously, if you'd like to make any remarks, then you can add those in. But I'm just going to go down the list of attendees. And if I call on somebody that I missed isn't present, well, then stay quiet, I suppose, if you're not here. Mr. Counselor Payne, I've got you up next, and I think I saw you here. If not, we
Yes.
can go ahead, sir. Oh, there you are, right in the middle.
Yeah. So I'll just piggyback that. I mean, similar to remarks I made at the Planning District Commission. Just reflecting on, I remember in 2019 when the regional housing needs assessment came out, and seeing directly how that changed, the conversation locally in Charlottesville, and was definitely a part of what led ultimately to the city both rewriting our zoning code, adopting our affordable housing plan, and committing $10 million annually to affordable housing. And also just interventions talked about at that time with, the land trust and other things, just grow in their impact. And also both Charlottesville and Albemarle recently had, news stories about issues with maintenance of properties and ideas around that. And I remember, I think it was the last Regional Housing Partnership Summit. There was a case study of people who were involved in creating an overlay district for rental inspections to allow them. And just interesting how that, these things that partnership talks about still inform policy. And, I know excited for the new housing needs assessment that's underway. And I think there's definitely a strong foundation to continue the impact of the partnership. And some high level updates for Charlottesville. I think the biggest community conversations around housing, I think, are still homelessness and student housing. Some things, our city finance committee, also another time to the partnership. Our last meeting, there was a presentation on Beyond LIHTC, which looked in part at establishing revolving loan funds. And the city's finance committee has started a discussion about what it could look like for the city to create a revolving loan fund for affordable housing construction and preservation. The city is, we have some low-income housing tax credit properties. They're going to have their affordability periods expire over the next year or so, and we've been looking at how we can preserve their affordability long-term. The state budget, which will hopefully be signed, includes $7 million for a regional homeless shelter for the Charlottesville region, which would be huge and transformative for our ability to do that on a quick timeline. And obviously, the situation with the encampment, is a major issue for the city. Tragically, recently there was a death at the encampment, along with a fire. That fortunately, in the fire, nobody passed away, but it did cause some physical injuries and destroyed someone's, everything they had out there. And as was mentioned, folks are in a floodplain. So as we approach flash flood season, a lot of just risk there, and hopefully we're able to have some safer conditions there, before more tragedy occurs. And we are, again, that's at $7 million in the state budget, and we're working on the plans to transform the Holiday Drive property into a year-round permanent low-bearer homeless shelter. And I think those are the big things I can think of at this point. Oh, one final thing, just for everyone's radar, beginning July 1st, there's going to be a new state law that will allow localities to pass ordinances that say if the locality put any public money into an affordable housing project and its affordability period ends, the locality has a first right of refusal and can partner with a nonprofit to purchase it. And again, would have the first right of refusal to maintain affordability. So I encourage, if anyone is interested in preventing LIHTC properties from losing their affordability, look into that. See, as soon after July 1st, you can pass that, because that'll be a powerful tool for us to prevent people getting displaced.
Thank you, Counselor Payne. Mr. McCloskey with Greene County.
Yeah, so Green, so currently we kicked off our comp plan update. We did it a little earlier than last time, so trying to do more outreach. So we've done we've done electronic, sending out email blast and text to folks to take surveys on specific questions around growth in Greene County, and just trying to get the community input. This my third comp plan update, and this is the most, already the most input that I've seen. One of the things we looked at, we had a workshop with the supervisors of Greene, and they stressed, expanding a growth area. So kind of between the town of Standardsville and 29, an area called Quinquay. Yeah, but once the planning and zoning looked into it, actually in our growth area, 40% of it is not zoned as business. So it's privately owned land, even in this new area that they're looking at, and we're underutilized. So I think, we're trying to push for an effort for the county to help landowners rezone their properties to get over that hurdle, to get things, ready for development. So not, from a housing, right now we're working on updating ordinances around manufactured homes. So currently they're not permitted in all zoning types. So we're updating that. Hopefully that will help with some of the homeless issues there. So yeah, hopefully Greene won't just be known as place to be deported and a place that people want to live. So that's all I have.
Thank you, sir. Let's see, Supervisor Rutherford down in Nelson. He is back from reflecting he wasn't really reflecting at the reflecting pool, but he was at the pool.
I'm a remarkably introspective man. Okay, that is true. We're one of the special things going on right now is the manufactured housing bill. I was happy to be on the for-profit industry side of life of making sure manufactured housing could be allowed across the state of Virginia. That's awesome. Also excited to see the accessory dwelling unit option be available. I know some people on here have mixed reviews on that, but that's okay. I love having more housing options in my area. Also, there is a phenomenal product out there coming out of manufactured housing addressing the accessory dwelling unit size of like a 12 by 30. You can pick one up for $39.9. It's pretty sweet. Our zoning here in Nelson, we are still underway. We have currently decided that we are going to, well, this is preliminary, to stay with a sliding scale as opposed to doing a 6-acre lot minimum. So it'd be the same zoning situation that we had, or not, same subdivision rights as we did prior. We also made a massive purchase of the land off of 29, so that we will be having a work session to kind of discuss some possibilities. Job creation is a big piece of our story, and seeing what we can provide for jobs for our community, as well as complementing it with maybe some recreational options. Beyond that, I can't think of anything else major other than went to DC. I got to see the reflecting pond. It is as green as you think it is. And then I did go to New York City during the Knicks game accidentally. I'm not a sports guy, but I got to see New York City explode. So it's pretty nuts.
And happiness.
Mr. Chairman, as the New Yorker, I got to chime in on this because I was talking to Jesse about that, and he sent me a text, and he said he was in the city. So anybody from New York knows that you call it the city, you don't call it Manhattan, right? And he, as a Nelson County boy, I was worried about him being allowed back into Nelson County because he fit in pretty good into the city. But
my
kudos
family's
to
from
you,
New
buddy.
Jersey, so I can't say too much. But
That's
Means
awesome.
I'm going to miss your New York accent on the committee.
Yeah, well, you never know. I might come knocking on your door just to say hi.
Makes me feel at home.
Supervisor Pruitt, I've got you up next from Carta.
I am trying to think if there are any significant updates. I'm tempted to share some discussion from Albemarle County rather than from Carter.
That's fine. Just be mindful of time. We want to keep
I'll
moving.
start by just giving a very quick kind of readout from Carta. Right now, one of the big things we're doing is receiving kind of iterative reports on the progress of our transit implementation study, kind of a hit list of what we might want to do if we got funding authority for a regional transit authority, so that we can then use to shape what our ask to the General Assembly in future years will be for that funding authority. And so we had a priorities list of existing routes throughout our many different agencies of what, based on our priorities, would make sense to highlight for either improved footprint or improved frequency. And a kind of surprising thing that came out as the very head and shoulders top rated route to improve was one that runs south down to Buckingham, stops in Dillwyn and Scottsville, and and this also was then reinforced by a presentation that the Albemarle County Board of Supervisors received from John, that this route actually significantly receives more ridership than comparative ones. This is particularly interesting because this is a lower cost of living in a much, frankly, poorer area than most of our region serves. And there was some discussion about whether or not we were correctly balancing these needs, because what it was doing is it was looking at the housing density at each bus stop as how it's determining the density of the route. So there was maybe a slight statistical bias there. But it sparked, I would say, a significant amount of discussion about kind of the interconnection of housing, affordability, and transit services and how we're thinking about this. And the commission, the authority as a whole supported moving forward with that prioritization at this time. Sorry, I got an ant on my foot. Additionally, at the Board of Supervisors level, I think the most relevant thing for this partnership that's come up is Albemarle County has been a really, that's helpful, Mr. Oyola. Albemarle County has been a really loud voice for a few years in a row now in favor of a General Assembly bill that would give localities the authority to sue on behalf of tenants for issues that violate the Landlord-Tenant Act. This is normally going to be like habitability concerns. A tenant does not really find themselves having the means to seek legal vindication in these kinds of scenarios. And frankly, there's not much money in it for private lawyers, generally speaking. So it's a deeply under-enforced scenario. And we are still the people who often get the complaints for it. And heretofore, we've been basically saying, well, our hands are tied. And now we have potentially another tool. Granted, what we don't have is a existing capacity to handle that kind of caseload. We don't have that kind of intake mechanism. We don't have a process for evaluating claims. And this came, it was actually already mentioned, at the same time as a renewed focus on the possibility of a rental inspection program based on some Charlottesville Tomorrow reporting that's been ongoing for a while. And so I think currently the board is in maybe the very, very early stages of seriously considering either or both of those as possible tools in our toolbox for how we might address issues of landlords really failing to meet the mark on habitability standards when tenants come to us about those concerns. But I think the first step is going to be getting a kind of a scope from staff of what that could actually realistically cost, how many FTEs we would need to hire for both of those different kind of avenues of enforcement.
All right, thank you. Margaret Claire, I've got you next on the list.
Hello. First, I'd like to say thank you to Mr. Galloway and Mr. Smith for the work you've done in the last few years. I've had a lot of fun working with you guys, and a lot of learning on my part from you too, fonts of wisdom. And I'm also very glad that Kim and Shayla are going to take over. We've got some rural representation there, which, that's really good. I'm always a fan of that. Here in Nelson, the foundation has been working on our apartments in Roseland, St. James Place. They are done and leased up. People are living in them, very happy, starting to pay me rent. Woo! We are also working on a neighborhood impact study that we got funded from Virginia Housing for some property in Livingston. So that's going to be really fun and interesting, starting with focus groups this week. And then we are also starting working on getting ready with Crawford's Place, which is the new name for Renaissance Ridge in Nelly's Ford, and we are working with PCLT and PHA on getting some, ways to help subsidize those properties for sale to workforce housing, as workforce housing. And that is a very exciting project, and we'll have more to say on that later.
Thank you, Margaret. We have Emily Dreyfus. Good afternoon.
Thanks. Sure. Glad to be back with everyone. From October to April, I was coordinating the Public Housing Association of Residents internship program, which runs for about 10 hours a week. And so it conflicted with the times of these meetings. So I'm glad to make it back. And also thanks to Ned and Keith for all you have done to get us this far. And more recently, I've been continuing to work closely with FAR and also the Charlottesville Low Income Housing Coalition. About a year ago, we started pointing out to the city the problems with the zoning related to the areas around the core neighborhoods. And those are the historically Black neighborhoods of Rose Hill, Fifeville, and 10th and Page. Those are the primary core neighborhoods. We did not make any headway. And so like Councilor Payne mentioned, we're going to see some really large luxury student housing buildings coming in right next to these neighborhoods, or very, very much overshadowing and impacting the neighborhoods, which is concerning because it'll likely accelerate displacement in those areas. And otherwise been working with residents who are part of the redevelopment planning for the Housing Authority. And if you haven't driven by South First Street, you might want to do that. I'm sure Kathleen might give some more information about that, but the South First Street and 6th Street work is moving forward. I think that's it for me. Thanks.
Thank you, Emily. And did I see Kurt? Did he have to leave, Kurt Kiesecker? Or, Mr. Matsuno. Yes.
Sure. Kurt had to leave, but I'm happy to provide a little update that just we've been very interested in the recent legislation passed by Governor Spanberger, the Faith in Housing Act. As a firm that's done a lot of work with both churches in their projects and affordable housing, it's been an interesting intersection. So we've been looking into what the opportunities might be statewide and doing a little internal research project on that. So that's been a very exciting merging of our worlds and something that we've been working hard on.
Thank you, sir. And Alice Fletcher.
Hello, thank you. I am pleased to announce that 2 local affordable housing communities, Truesdale and Brookdale, received the National Affordable Housing Management Association's designation for communities equality. And this speaks to Mr. Pruitt's comments, and why this matters is that communities equality take a fundamentally different approach to management and maintenance. They bring people together across teams. with aligned standards, best practices, and clear expectations that are reviewed on a national level. It means that teams are equipped with the right tools, training, and processes to do work correctly from the start, which naturally reduces work orders and complaints. It leads to well-maintained and managed properties that are designed to have long-term benefits to residents who live in the community. And what we're seeing, the outcomes is more reliable satisfaction with residents, teams are empowered, and the affordable housing standard is elevated. And so anybody that knows anything about NAMA, I would encourage you to get involved and to take a look at these designations that they offer, because it will elevate the affordable communities that we have here in Albemarle County, Greene County, Louisa, and Fluvanna.
Thank you. All right, Peter Holman, got you up next.
Thank you. Just a brief update. 2026 represents the first full operational year of the UVA Community Credit Union Foundation. We created that in the previous year because as the institution, the credit union has grown, we really needed a way to structure and organize our various charitable givings. And so the foundation really operates as the charitable giving arm for the institution. And where it's relevant to this body is the three pillars of the foundation are health, hunger, and housing, specifically affordable housing. And so the mission of the foundation is to support local nonprofits that support one of those pillars. And it really operates with two primary grant cycles, one in the spring and the fall. This year, we only have one cycle, which is already closed in the spring, but in 2027, we'll be operating under the dual grant cycle. And so I just wanted to make everyone aware. I know a lot of you work for organizations that already qualify, or if you know that. And of course, if anyone has any questions, you can either send me an email or send me a private chat. I'd be happy to talk with you and give you some more information.
Thank you, sir. Shayla, anything in addition to your presentation today?
Yeah, I'll put a link in the chat. Just a reminder that this Friday is our Coffee with the Continuum. It's an event that we hold quarterly for anyone in the community who wants to learn more about what BRAC is doing with a deeper dive than a quick 10 to 15-minute presentation. Also, Vista 29 units on Route 29 in Charlottesville, Albemarle County are on track to open probably in December or January at the latest. So the COC is working really hard to get a solid list of folks who are chronically homeless document ready. We're really focusing on the encampment in particular at Free Bridge and 0 East High Street to move folks into those units if possible. And yeah, should be moving forward with that. Also, we are still undergoing our strategic planning process. I think Margaret was a part of our last one in the fall. We decided to scrap those, but I would love to get more rural county perspectives for the continuum of care. So Jesse, Kim, Margaret may be reaching out to you soon with the Charlottesville Area Community Foundation, who's going to be helping us with drafting a new strategic plan for the whole continuum of care.
Awesome. Thank you, Shayla. And if we're approaching 3, but we've just got a few more people, if y'all could hang in there while we get these last couple updates in. Alice Rauscher?
Sure, thanks. I'll be brief because unfortunately I have no new news with regard to Wortland and 10th and Piedmont sites, but we continue to work with our partners in POA, Preservation of Affordable Housing, and PHA to navigate, all the issues with affordable housing, which are still creating funding challenges for us. Each site's unique, and we continue to progress on its own timeline. The foundation, however, has moved forward with development at North Fork. They've hired Bluestone Land as the development partner for North Fork, which is a very different site from the both Wortland and 10th and Piedmont site in terms of size, scale, project phasing, et cetera, as well as the affordability mix. So I think they anticipate both market rate and workforce middle income housing, in addition to the affordable housing at that site. And the earliest start date they're expecting for construction is 2028. The good news at the Piedmont site is that we have re-rented all those houses and units to the community while we're waiting to, sort out the funding issues. And then a little bit of good news with regard to student housing. Our Ivy Corridor housing project is on track to be occupied in the summer of 2027, which will put 780 beds on grounds. So hopefully, that will help in the big picture. So that's it for me.
Thank you, Alice. Annette Hyde.
Thanks, Ned. A couple of items. The first is the incumbent worker training grant. Funding has been made available by Virginia Works to help our region's employers upskill their workforce. The program reimburses approved employers for the cost of training their workers, including training courses, classes for certification exams, online training, and textbooks. The training must result in an employee promotion or pay raise. And the second thing I have is beginning July 1st, there's going to be new flexibility for Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act training funds, or WIOA. Governor Spanberger signed HB 772, allowing local workforce boards to request a waiver of the requirement that at least 40% of WIOA adult and dislocated worker funds be spent on training.
Thank you. Chair Highland, do you have any updates today? Roundtable sharing time.
Just real quick, we're not a huge organization, but in Louisa County, we did just get 4 certificates of occupancy for our first units in the 100% affordable development that is in Louisa. That'll be a total of 25 units. We've set the foundations for the next 3 houses. Those will be delivered on July 7th. They're modular houses, and they'll be, if you want to see something really fun, come out here on July 8th and 9th and watch those houses get set. That's always a fun thing to see. So we are working on the funding for the next 18 units, but all of the infrastructure is in place and the first 7 will be there. We're hoping to have funding for the remaining units by the end of this calendar year. And we are getting Fluvanna project underway, which will be 17 units. We're meeting with Lori Jean coming up. Fiscal year end for our repair program, we have exceeded $400,000 again this year, approaching $450,000. So that's been about where we've been annually. Significant in this area are dry wells. With the dry weather that we've had, we're getting a lot of well calls with completely dry wells. We're working with Virginia Department of Health. We'd had a $300,000 grant for well and septic relief, which has run out. So we're looking for new sources. So it's something a little different than what the city typically has to deal with. We have a significant number of board wells, which are about 3 feet wide and 30 to 60 feet deep. So they're not super deep, and those are the ones that run dry first. And we are getting a lot of calls on those. So wells are running at least $13,000 for a new well, not including permitting. So it's some heavy costs out here, but that's about it. Thank you so much. And Margaret, I think this is completely your fault that I'm the chair now. Because she stepped off of the executive steering committee. But yeah, very happy to be working with everybody and increase our engagement. So thanks for everything you've done, Ned, and we'll do the best we can. Passing the torch. I'm very excited to work with Shayla.
I know you all will. Thank you very much. Luis, we got 2 left. Luis?
Thank you, everybody. So first off, with the Road to Housing Act that will be enacted, I think it's worth noting that community land trusts have been added to the federal code for the first time, which is significant, and particularly instructing the federal government to create zoning guidelines, to instruct localities to create zoning guidelines that prioritize permanent affordability through community land trusts, which is good to see and will help promote the growth of CLTs. For Kindlewood, we are partnering with Atlantic Builders to build townhomes there that will be for sale and permanently affordable, where our target sales price is to be affordable for 60% AMI. And worth noting there is that this will be the first time that people will be able to own homes in that neighborhood, since it was originally raised in the early 1970s for the construction of the Friendship Court apartments. For looking ahead at our pipeline, I've been running around with my hair on fire trying to figure out how I will manage this without Keith as board chair. But thank you so much for getting us to the place where we are at, because I just did an estimate as far as what is sort of in the bag to happen from now to 2030. We're looking at 72 homes, which would increase our portfolio from 55 right now to over 120 by 2030, which is a very significant increase. It was at 12 in 2021. And however, that doesn't count rehabs. And one of the reasons I note rehabs is that that's within the city of Charlottesville, that's been the biggest, the most frequently stated need from community members as far as how the community land trust can help, is with rehabbing vacant homes or homes that are at risk of being lost due to the lack of repair funds, and can get flipped by investors and become expensive housing. We can instead preserve them as permanently affordable housing, and keep them fixed up and keep them as home ownership. Related to that note, it's hard for us to predict because we're always having to compete with the market. So when we have rehab opportunities that come up, they sort of come up within a month or two of knowing about them. And the Fikeville Neighborhood Association has been really involving us in the conversation of what to do about the MARC development that's coming up, the market rent, student rental that's coming up at the edge of the Fikeville neighborhood. And had a community session on Monday, where I was one of the presenters, because they see the PCLT as one of the practical solutions for protecting the neighborhood from increased taxes and increased housing costs as these kinds of developments come up. And I don't know, I think I look forward to more partnerships like that on a neighborhood by neighborhood basis, as neighborhoods see more private for-profit development and see the effects of that, where you don't have mechanisms that preserve affordability, such as the community land trust. So happy to talk to anybody interested in that conversation. That's it.
Thank you, sir. And Kathleen Glenn Matthews of CRHA.
Yep, I'll try to be quick because the last one. Good to see everyone. Thank you, Ned and Keith, for making it possible for us to be part of this group. That was a real tremendous effort, and we appreciated it. And I'm looking forward to working with Shayla as well. As Emily was talking about, lots of work happening at South First Street. We're looking at, we've got folks working on paperwork to move in by the end of the summer. And it's very exciting, especially to see our largest community center ever that's about to open over there, and meeting with residents to find out what kind of services they'd like to see. 6th Street is also under construction, and you can see the elevator shafts have gone up, and now it's building up from the ground, and it's very exciting. We are also starting our annual plan next week with the Resident Advisory Board, so a lot of outreach will be happening with that. And it was, I think those are all the big updates I've got.
Thank you, Kathleen. Real quick, I want to say thank you to all of you for the partnership and the work that I've been able to do. And I know that Keith feels the same way. And while we're stepping down, we won't be stepping away. You will probably see my name pop up in the advisory committee role working on our resource library that we started to stand up in the past 12 months. That's going to be my task and my focus starting July 1 as I move out of the chair role. So be ready for some. If you see my name popping up connected to the partnership, that's why. I want to quickly say thank you to Logan, Lori Jean, Emily, Christine, working with us as chair and vice chair over all these years. Keith said it best earlier, how important staff is. And just to make sure that we don't miss them, folks like Gretchen and past folks like Ruth Emmerich and Ian and Caden, who have all played a role in furthering the organization along. So I want to make sure they're recognized. And then just real quick from Albemarle County, we did stand up a pilot, an employee home ownership assistance and rental assistance program that's going to be available to all employees, full-time employees of Albemarle, including public school teachers. So it's not just local government side. So that's another effort that we're attempting to use to help both with housing affordability living in our community. And of course, it's also an employee retention tool that other localities have used. And coming soon, the Housing Albemarle update will be happening. And you probably will hear some comments in a joint meeting that the City Council and Albemarle will be having in the fall relative to the chamber to chamber group that we all took to the Chapel Hill and heard about a really good, successful land trust program that they're doing that is a really best practice model of partnerships among jurisdictions and the University of North Carolina. So I'm not going to steal the thunder from that meeting and give a lot of report out, but I suspect you'll hear more about that when we meet in the fall, probably in October. But with that, I thank everybody for their time today. Sorry for going over time. But happy transition, and we'll be seeing you all as we stay involved on housing affordability moving forward. And good luck, best of luck to Chair Hyland and Vice Chair Washington. Thank you all. I will officially adjourn the meeting.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Have a good day, everyone.
Thank
Thanks,
you all.
Ned.